Okay. Amazing. Then we see how our digital minister, how problematic she is.
We fixed it? Okay, so I'll be the quick fix. So I'll use this audio as the audio.
That's right. That's actually what it's suggesting. So yeah. So we agree on each other's solutions.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, let me just fix that. 没有，不用，我用那个软体这边设定一下就好。对外 speaker。
Okay.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. Keep saying.
Keep talking.
Keep talking.
1, 2, 3, 4. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome
Yeah, we've got it.
to the morning conversation radio show.
Wow, that's
On 98.4
yeah.
with Audrey J and Ian.
人肉店吗？没有，把这个拿掉，我们放着就好了。这样问题是两个。
Startup communities and Taiwanese startup ecosystems.
All right, we've got a set going. Thank you for your extremely attractive voice.
Chris Voss is the author of this book called Never Split the Difference. He's a former FBI negotiator. And one of the things he recommends is when you're negotiating with somebody, bring the late night DJ voice.
And what's the theory behind using the late night DJ voice for negotiation?
Apparently, it's very rhythm talks like there is the mere exposure effect. It's very comfortable vibe, comfortable persona.
I see. Okay, keep doing this because we're going to start.
I will try to host today's session in my late night DJ voice.
So we're waiting for technical stuff, and once this happens, we'll skip the intro and we'll jump straight into the panel. So we'll give Audrey and Oko and Ian back their time. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but we'll start shortly.
And I'm sure you all hear the late night DJ voice coming out from the computer.
That's right. All right, so we're now streaming. We're now streaming live on Facebook.
And we'll project Ian and Oko onto the screen, and we can officially start.
Here we are.
Yeah. So we'll kick off. We'll stop. We'll skip the intro. So I'm David, the program manager of Techstars in Taiwan. This is Rosa.
Currently, I'm the executive director for our ecosystem development. Welcome all of you to join our grand kickoff. And let's give the time to Audrey, Ian, and Oko. Welcome.
So just to kick off, Oko is dialing in from Singapore. Ian is dialing in from the States. And they're here to join us to talk about startup communities. Ian just launched a book called Startup Community Way. A lot of you guys have it. If you haven't, they'll talk about, there's the book right there. And today is just a sharing of different ideas, different discussions about how we can grow startup communities. So without further ado, I'll let them introduce themselves and they can steal away the show.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank
Morning.
you for joining us this morning. So I'm gonna try to very loosely moderate and facilitate this conversation, but it's really about Ian and Audrey today. We've had a previous discussion, so we're gonna pick up on those and try to have an engaging and interesting conversation. Unfortunately, because of the technicalities, you probably won't be able to ask questions from Ian, but Audrey will stay in that room with you guys. She's not running away anywhere, so you can have her and ask
For
her
5
all
minutes.
questions you want afterwards. So with that said, let me, David just kind of introduced, and you all obviously know who Audrey is, but I want to start my question first with Audrey, and then, and part of that, Audrey, please do give us a little more background to introduce yourself. But, we talked about how I should maybe introduce you as the person who put dot in Asia.st.
That's right,
What is that?
Asia.Silicon Valley. Yes. So when I entered the cabinet, it was 4 years ago, roughly speaking, there was this new idea called 亚洲矽谷 or Asian Silicon Valley. And I thought it was silly. A lot of my friends thought it was silly, actually, because we've been to Silicon Valley, and we understand this is not about bringing Silicon Valley to Asia or to turn Asia into Silicon Valley. That never works. But however, we do see the importance of connections. And so I put this dot and called it instead Asia.Silicon Valley. So instead of Asia being an adjective like Asian, 亚洲的矽谷, right? This is about 亚洲连接矽谷 to connect Asia and Silicon Valley. And subsequently, we found that actually the Silicon Valley way of thinking, if it's more short-term, if it's more about creating short-term returns and so on, actually has a lot of externalities. We have seen the infodemic, for example, as a result of that. And people in Asia are very creative, and we created a lot of ways actually to counter the infodemic. So the connection is in both ways. This is not just about using Silicon Valley thinking to solve Asian problems, but also using Asian thinking to solve problems caused by Silicon Valley. And this makes for a much more bilateral communication.
That's great, and I'm gonna come back to that. But before I go dig deeper into that topic, I want to ask Ian, who's the co-author of the Startup Communities book. And I feel like the book is exactly about this. It's about different communities around the world wanting to become a thriving ecosystem. Can you tell us a little bit about the book, and then also a little bit more about your experience?
Yeah, thanks, Oko. So the book is really the culmination of 3 years of work with my co-author Brad Feld and I. Not 3 years consistently. There were a lot of breaks in between, a lot of marinating on these ideas. For those who may not be aware, Brad wrote a book in 2012 called Startup Communities, which kind of kicked off this global phenomenon. And we partnered over the last couple of years. This book was just published in July, which is really an evolution on the movement that Brad kicked off. His first book focused a lot on Boulder, the principles that could be learned in Boulder, Colorado, his experience building a startup community there. What we're trying to do here is be more generalizable. We focus a lot on the systemic properties. We use the word ecosystem a lot, but too often we found that approaches to improve entrepreneurship in a community overlooks the systemic nature, and so we really focus on that. Audrey said the word directly, which was connections, right? That's really what this is about strong human relationships built around collaboration and support. And that's really what the book is about. We could go a bit deeper if you'd like, but a lot of it has been, put into action with the local team in Taiwan, and it's been fun to be a part of that journey.
Great, thank you, Ian. And Audrey, coming back to you, this agenda of Taiwan trying to become the Asian Silicon Valley, whether you like the terminology or not, it's
the dots between Asia and Silicon Valley. Sorry for interrupting.
No problem. It's a big agenda. It's been around for a while now. From your perspective in the office, what has the progress been? What are you proud of? And how would you analyze the results so far?
Yeah, a lot of the work that we've done is to ensure that there is a compelling reason for talents to circulate. Like I personally went to Silicon Valley to start some companies, and thanks to the invention of telework, maintained this teleworking relationship with the Silicon Valley community, like even now, right? I'm digital administrator at TW / co-founder, board member, many other international organizations, and I'm not alone in this. There's many both Taiwanese people who go overseas but want to return to amplify their work, as well as people who have heard of Taiwan and chose this as their startup destination. And toward that end, we've introduced, for example, the Taiwan Gold Card, which you can check out at taiwangoldcard.com, and it's a community that with people who hold this open work permit, enjoying healthcare along with with their family and so on. And it's all very streamlined without needing to invest a lot of money in Taiwan or to find a Taiwanese employer. What we're saying is that essentially just hang out with us and share your talents and things like that. And it really worked. I mean, now we're around almost 2,000 gold card issued this way, up from like less than 200 before the pandemic. And during the pandemic, there's also more than 250K people returning from all over the world back to Taiwan to work on whatever they are already working on, but through teleworking and so on. So I think the COVID and the teleworking initiatives in particular has really fostered this talent circulation, and we've signaled that we are really in this for the long run. The open work permit is 3 years, and unlike Singapore, you can reapply after the 3 years. And what we're relaxing the criteria as the Christmas gift last year from the Minister of Science and Technology, Mr. Wu Zhenzhong, is that anyone who has the potential to contribute to science and technology is now eligible for a gold card. So that's pretty much everyone in the startup community.
That's great. And I want to follow up on that question. Do you think that it's easier to be an entrepreneur in Taiwan now?
Yeah, definitely. Compared to 4 years ago, definitely, yes.
Yeah. And what are some of larger kind of infrastructures or new things in place that entrepreneurs can take advantage of in Taiwan?
Yeah.
Besides the gold card.
That's right. So in 2015, we've reformed our company law a little bit to promote the closely held corporations that would be able for you as a co-founder or as a founder to raise money up to like Series A or something without diluting your voting rights. And that used to be very difficult. You have to set up a company at Cayman Islands or something. But now you can do so using local law. Now in 2017, we further expanded it so it applies to basically any company that's not public issued. And so the like new inventions from Silicon Valley, including, for example, the crowdfunding for shares, for example, and these things, SDOs even, these structures become legally possible in Taiwan.
That's great. I want to jump over to Ian. So is Silicon Valley the best ecosystem in the world? And what have you found in your research, looking around communities around the world?
Well, I think the best ecosystem is the one you want to spend the rest of your life improving, right? And building the next great company. I think that the lessons from Silicon Valley are, of course, that place matters. Right? It's easier to build a great company in Silicon Valley than in many other places. Maybe we should amend that to say it used to be easier to build a company there, right? Things have been evolving, but place matters. I'll quote a friend of mine who is a French entrepreneur turned investor. He said, "I encourage all of my entrepreneurs to spend time in Silicon Valley, not just to learn and see how things are done and to build a network, but to see that no one is special there, that they aren't necessarily the smartest people, right? They don't have necessarily the best ideas. It's that they're doing it in a place where this culture, which has unfolded over many decades, has taken shape, and it just makes the journey easier. It doesn't make it certain. Let's also not forget to double down on what Audrey was just discussing. Silicon Valley was really built by entrepreneurs, by immigrants. I think one estimate that I saw from a study in the middle of the 2000s, something along the lines of half of all technology venture-backed startups in the Valley over the previous several decades had at least one immigrant founder. Right, and we know now that the United States is over the last 4 years, and really predating that much further, has begun to turn its back on immigrants. And now we're seeing that capital is flowing to more places, more communities around the world. Opportunity is opening up in those markets, and smart governments can stay competitive by having an open door. I mean, this is really about talent. Right? That's what the whole game is. And and to say, you're welcome here, you have a place here, I think is really good government policy. The final thing that I'll say is that also what has made Silicon Valley great is its resilience, right? Its adaptability. Going back to that culture element, Silicon Valley made its way really in electronics, in chips and hardware, right? That might sound familiar to folks in Taiwan. It's also been one of the leading centers of biotech, and it really wasn't even positioned to be that. But it became that because of the orientation of how venture capitalists and entrepreneurs would take existing means and create meaningful companies, right? So Silicon Valley is proof that it can happen anywhere by applying the right mindset, by being adaptable, being open, being collaborative, putting the entrepreneurs as the star, right? Makes those combinations, those winning combinations of great ideas becoming great companies and creating large markets, it just makes it more likely. And so I think those are some of the main takeaways from Silicon Valley. I don't think you should ever try to emulate it. We can learn from those principles, but really each place is so unique, and to the degree that you do want to adopt lessons from Silicon Valley, I would look back several decades about what actually got the flywheel spinning to begin with, not necessarily what's happening today.
Ian, I know you built your own startup as an entrepreneur and you sold it, and if you were to do a new startup now, would you want to do it in the Silicon Valley? Audrey, same question back to you. Would you want to be back there?
Well, for me, it's no, because I don't want to spend the rest of my life there. I don't want to live there. So it's a definite no for me.
Okay. I'm currently working in the Taipei city, but my residency is in the new Taipei city. I recently met with the mayor and the deputy mayor of new Taipei city, and they have this great saying that everyone who lives or have their residence in the new Taipei city are new citizens. So 新北市的住民就是新住民, right? So we are all immigrants, and immigrants, we get a job done. So I'm happy to stay in Taiwan and work in Taiwan.
Great. Audrey, follow up. So, what other ecosystems or communities do you look to when you are perhaps looking for creativity or inspiration, and in terms of comparison? I want to use this word because I know Ian is very allergic to this word, but what other ecosystems and communities do you?
Yeah, inspirations. Yes. As I said, I'm digital administrator TW / board member Radical Exchange. And Radical Exchange is this basically on-chain governance trying to project it to the real world, quote-unquote real world. My co-founder, Vitalik Buterin, is now working with many like quadratic voting, quadratic funding, a lot of like Gitcoin, which is a real implementation of quadratic funding practice, and things like that. And the good thing about the Ethereum, is it a co-governor now? Is it sovereign now? Maybe not. The Ethereum community is that they are very willing to look at democracy and see democracy as a technology. Now that's quite rare, actually, in jurisdictions around the world, to see democracy as something malleable, as something that you can try different layout, like semiconductor layouts. And so what we are doing is essentially looking at the lessons learned from the Gitcoin experiment, from the Ethereum domain name system, and things like that, and apply the lessons learned to, for example, the Taiwanese presidential hackathon, which for the past couple of years has used quadratic voting to choose the teams to receive incubation for 3 months, and the top 5 teams receive a trophy from the president, which is a micro projector that when turned on projects the President Tsai Ing-wen, we call it Shen Zhupai here, so her likeness, promising, blessing, right, that's the word, blessing the team, whatever the team did for the past 3 months, she promised to make it into national policy within the next 12 months or so. That's executive power as a hackathon award, and we learned that, including the voting method, directly from the Ethereum community.
Wow, those are some really interesting things that we should be all looking into. as a digital minister, what does your day-to-day looks like? Earlier you said that you have 10, 50 events?
10 meetings per day, yes.
Per day.
From 7 to 7, yes. But this year is a little bit relaxed. Maybe just 9 meetings a day, right? Right. So I usually have my first engagement around 7 a.m. and usually with North and South American communities. Now, the evening engagements are with African and European communities. And what I usually do is to focus on the common values like the Sustainable Development Goals and sharing not only the Taiwan model to counter the pandemic with no lockdown, but also countering the infodemic with no takedown and many other structural issues. But people in the Commonwealth called wicked problems, and I share the wiki solutions to the wicked problems.
Awesome. So I want to now take this and take our kind of third section of the conversation I wanted to have, which is Ian. In your research, what did you find government to be effective in developing ecosystems? What roles did they play, where it worked, and perhaps what they didn't do so well?
So government has a big role to play. I have a different view maybe on what that should be from what a lot of government officials might think that role should be. I think the first thing, and this is not as fun, not as sexy, but it's like getting the house in order, is what I like to say. Making sure your tax regimes and your regulatory regimes are fair, are transparent, are easy to understand, including in that immigration policy, right? That's a regulation around labor. Doing things that only the government can do, right? Focusing on doing those things well. I think that governments who are looking to seed, to diversify their approach, right? To seed many different actors who are actually engaged, who are carrying out these experiments, right? I think governments can set high-level vision and strategy. They can provide funding. They can provide other forms of support, convening and connecting. But ultimately, I feel like when government tries to go down the road of delivering entrepreneurship, services for entrepreneurs like acceleration, incubation, and investment, I think that's a step too far. So one way of framing this is government can help build the platform or the dance floor, but ultimately you have to let the dancers dance, right? And so that's a good way of thinking about it. And so those are the kind of things that I think about what government strategy, what government approaches work well and what don't.
Now, Audrey, I know some of these is exactly.
I completely agree. Yes. So that's really what I have to say. I completely agree. In Taiwan, we make sure that for example, our National Development Fund from the National Development Council invest in a company, we always work with the angel community, and we never get more than 49.99% of the controlling share. Otherwise, the startup becomes state-owned enterprises, and that's not giving people the freedom to dance.
Ian, obviously we've been doing work in Taiwan for over 2 years now, and one of the first things we did was to do an assessment, right? Can you maybe share a little bit about what we've learned in Taiwan before we started our work?
Yeah, so this is a little bit repetitive of what I just talked about, but one of the things that stuck with me, both from our assessment and my own experience visiting Taipei, was that the government was making some smart decisions around, diversifying the strategy, looking for market participants to actually implement, right? The policy is, let's improve digitally enabled, digitally driven technology entrepreneurship. That's the goal. Let's put some resources behind it, but let's have these other actors, many different ones, implementing the policy. The second thing is that I see, which is positive, is a commitment, right? A sustained commitment, right? It's very early days. If you look at a bunch of these government initiatives, we're talking what? less than a decade, 5 years, 3 years or so. This takes a long time, and so having that long-term commitment is critical. In fact, I think this is, I try to think about what's the number one thing that confuses or confounds in entrepreneurial ecosystems, and I think it is that time cycle. These time lags are tremendous. So just remembering that it's early days. On the negative side, one of the things that I observed was that so much of the attention was on very early stage companies that it felt like there might have been a support gap for companies that are gaining traction and growing. I am a big believer in throwing a lot at the innovation economy. There's an American economist who turned venture capitalist named Bill Janeway, and he has this great quote, and he says, efficiency is the enemy of innovation. So don't try to make these policies efficient. Just know that you've got to try a lot of things. A bunch of it won't work, but the things that will are going to drive value for the whole thing, and you're not going to be able to predict in advance what those things are. So I felt like it's great to have lots of this early stage experimentation. Keep doing that. Stick with it, but then also look for the companies that are gaining traction and find ways to support them as well. Make sure those mechanisms are there. The second thing that I would say is that I felt like the entrepreneurs themselves could be doing more to self-organize and lead amongst themselves. So I feel like the government has done a great job to provide all these resources and opportunities. But one thing that I think could be done more is to encourage those entrepreneurs to lead. Now, I know it's very easy for the founders to say, look, I'm busy building my company, I can't do this right now. And I think inevitably there is this cycle, right? There are going to be times when founders really need to focus only on the company. But my plea would be over the long term that a startup community that is led principally by entrepreneurs, not entirely, is a more relevant and sustainable one. And so those are some of the things that I would have said. Some great strengths, but also some things to work on.
Audrey, every time we share these findings, we get some reaction from the local community. This is the first time you heard some of these things. What do you think? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with?
Yeah, I'll expand the argument a little bit. The call to action in my community, the G0 G0V community, here is called forking the government. Pronunciation very important. Fork the government. Fork in open source meaning take some things already there, but taking it into a more innovative new direction. Actually, people on the cryptocurrency and distributed ledger community knows a lot about forks, and I'm talking about soft forks. That is to say, experiments that's designed to be merged back. So, for example, TaiwanGoldCard.com, the website that I just mentioned, is not a government project. It's literally a GitHub project. I also sent a pull request when they visited me, and it's literally built by people who got gold cards and really want to share it with their friends and families. Now, one of the lead architects of that website actually now works with the National Development Council, not for, with, and builds our official portal for gold card owners. And you see this story repeating again and again, like our counter-pandemic portal, Taiwan Can Help That Us. That's not a government website. It's literally crowd-funded on the.com, and with the original goal of just putting an advertisement in New York Times. But it evolved into this like YouTuber showcase channel where international YouTubers share the Taiwan model and compete on the best way to share the lessons. I think they're even joined by our then Vice President Chen Jianren, who recorded a YouTube clip about epidemiology, right? And that then fed back to the Ministry of Health and Welfare's communication efforts, because we all use Creative Commons licenses and open data licenses. It made sure that all those forks eventually could get merged into government platform. And so the founders can then move on to the next thing, while the public service maintains this scaffold turned into a building. But the scaffolding, I think, is very important.
By the way, I just want to point out that the audio somehow is working really, really well.
I know.
Surprising.
Yeah, we have broadband as a human right. You're enjoying the human right of Taiwanese people.
I want to go back to which you mentioned, Taiwan can help, right? This is a big campaign, like you said, and for someone who's looking from outside in, I feel like it really hit well. It was very popular, and it's being picked up, like you mentioned, around the world. What is the vision, or what do you think some of the big outcomes you hope to get out of this?
Yeah, I think one of the main ideas of Taiwan Can Help is that we're not very picky about the topic that we can be of help. This is my name card, by the way. And it says Taiwan Can Help next to the 17 UN Global Goals. There's even a moving forward logo to it. So full startup thing, right? You can get swags, t-shirts, baseball caps, or whatever, having that logo. And so the hashtag Taiwan Can Help is not something that's only used by Taiwanese people. It's actually remixed in every which way. We have, for example, Japanese people putting that into their rap songs. There's literally a rap song about Taiwan Can Help done by the Japanese team, those monos. And there's many other jurisdictions that then think about Taiwan and think about maybe just one or two things that we're traditionally known to help with, right? So we talked about, of course, the semiconductors and the ICT and things like that, but we are, of course, quite strong as well on the medical assistance, humanitarian assistance, agricultural technologies, and every other thing. But by looking at the 17 global goals and seeing Taiwan Can Help next to it, then people learn that, oh, this is also about circular economy, and this is also about community building and things like that. And we take every chance. For example, I often say this jacket is made out of recycled plastic and coffee bean waste, and that's circular economy and things like that. And so we all correspond to the global goals. And so I think the main message is that we are here to help you, no matter which shared global goals you're working on, and that's a larger community, much more than any specific global goal.
Again, quick follow-up question. When I hear you talk about many of these projects, you seem to be very much in touch with the entrepreneurs themselves, the community, and I haven't seen many government people who.
Well, I'm running 3 startups in addition to being a digital administrator at TW. So I'm still actively participating in the community.
Can you tell us how you actually do that tactically? How do you make sure you're staying connected? How do you make sure you're still listening to them?
Well, tactically, it means that I sleep for 8 hours every day to keep my mind fresh. I make sure that I don't accept the public service event requests during the weekends, which is quite rare, actually, for members of the cabinet who are most busy during the weekend. But weekend is for me, for family, and for the startup communities that I engage with. And also, when we're talking, I just saw your message on Slack and things like that. And I'm like that, right? So when I go after work, and I'm in the weekends, I'm just on Slack full time and responding to the new requests. For example, last February, there was a guy named Howard Wu from Tainan City who posted on the GovZero Slack saying, hey, I owed Google $26K in map usage fees because I built this map that shows availability of masks, and that was enabled me to respond within hours saying, hey, don't pay the bill, I'll talk to Google and things like that. So this is all about a real-time connectivity with the community on Slack and other channels.
Everybody in the audience, make sure you get the direct Slack address of Audrey so you can get your...
join the G0V.TW. Yeah.
Yes, please, Ian. You want to add something?
Yeah, I think I've said this now 3 times, but I want to double down on something that Audrey just said because it's so important, which is this idea of the government appointing key personnel to roles of influence, right? You don't, in fact, appointing people into official government roles who have experience as entrepreneurs or in tech, who have those existing relationships in the startup community, the knowledge base, can actually be a very simple way of driving the agenda forward. My suggestion around that is similar to how you would vet a program, right? Do the work up front, right? Make sure you've got the right people in those roles and put as few restrictions on them as possible. Let them do their thing, right? I just feel like it's I guess I'm talking about this through a few different ways. I've talked about the policy sort of vision and then the policy implementation. And when it comes to startups, the implementation is so important because the way that entrepreneurship is organized, the way that startup communities function is so diametrically opposed to how most institutions work, like governments and corporations and universities, that it's a lot better to appoint personnel, not necessarily to even a long-term role. I mean, I'm familiar with the city government of Seattle has a role called the startup advocate, and it's typically an entrepreneur who is in between companies, they're in between roles. Sometimes they do it for 6 months, sometimes they do it for two years. But they're basically the point person, the interface between that local government and the startup community. And it's been very effective. And it's a relatively low cost way to make sure they've got the right information, right? And that they're responding to the community's needs in an agile way, and being proactive in what those needs might be as it relates out to the government. So I really want to emphasize, what Audrey was saying, and just to say that I feel like that's a simple strategy that government should be adopting everywhere.
And I think Taiwanese government is very fortunate to have somebody like Audrey who's actually playing that role really well. Ian, we do have last 4 minutes here. Anything else you want to add before we log you off? And then I have one question from Audrey.
No, I just think that I just want to extend some words of encouragement. It's been a real honor and a pleasure to have a front row seat to the startup community in Taiwan. Very disappointed that I'm not visiting in person. I'd like to actually be a public health refugee, maybe.
Get a gold card. Get a gold card.
I need my gold card. But you're doing all the right things, and just stick with it. Be patient, keep at it. Know that things can change quickly, right? This isn't a linear progression. You're pushing this boulder uphill, and it feels like maybe some days it's not going anywhere, and then next thing you know, you're at the top of the hill and it starts accelerating, right? Maybe that's a bad metaphor, but the idea being you just have to keep pushing, and you're doing the right things. Just sticking with it is critical. So it's been fun to be a part of that ride, and I look forward to spending more time with the community.
Thank you very much, Ian. I know Ian just wants to go back for Din Tai Fung. Yeah, that's his favorite restaurant.
Yeah, I just want to say, just for the audience, that during Meet Taipei and Startup Week, I had 3 different nights of different Zoom backgrounds of Din Tai Fung. So this is a strong endorsement for me.
Thank you, Ian. And Audrey, my last question is, I really liked how you explained your bio the other day to us, kind of elements and traits or sort of mindsets you follow and goals. If you could maybe share with us that, I feel like that's a great way to end this conversation.
Sure, definitely. So this is all about longer-term thinking, the theme that we discussed today, and during our preparatory meeting, I tried to put words to what I mean by long-term, right? And I said, if the work that we are doing makes the world a better place when I log off compared to when I log in to the world, then it's a better thing. And I think that's sustainability, and that's a really good alternate vision, and I would like for it to be a mainstream vision as opposed to this singularity vision. And that's indeed my job description, which goes like this. When we see the Internet of Things, let's make it an Internet of Beings. When we see virtual reality, let's make it a shared reality. When we see machine learning, let's make it collaborative learning. When we see user experience, let's make it about human experience. And whenever we hear that a singularity is near, let's always remember the plurality is here. So live long and prosper, and have a good little time.
Enjoyed it thoroughly. I hope the audience did too. We learned a lot, and again, audience, you guys have Audrey with you, so you can continue having asking questions, having this conversation. For me,
Stay online. We need to take a picture before
Yeah,
you
we
leave.
need to take a picture, otherwise it didn't happen. It's
Right,
just
group photo. And great news is that Oko, Ian, they plan to fly over to Taiwan in March. So we are looking forward to that. Hopefully with our digital minister's help.
Of course, get a go kart.
So we'll take a picture with Ian and Oko and the team this way, and later Audrey will move over here to take a picture with the crowd. So you can take a picture. She's gonna hide Audrey, so Audrey can stand.
No, it's good. It's good.
Okay.
We're fine. Yeah, maybe like this.
Okay.
Maybe just like this.
Okay, please be here. Okay.
Yeah. She wants to start the second one. Yeah. Okay. It's my face, by the way. It's okay.
Not too bad.
Okay, please be here. 3, 2, 1. Once again. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay.
You guys laughing at my face? Okay, this way. I'll carry them over. So digitally they're here with us, and then
Okay.
Audrey.
That's excellent. Okay.
So I'll have them here.
Okay. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Once again. Quick, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you.
Nice.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Audrey. Thank you, Oko and Ian.
bye.
Today it's it's US holiday, right? Thank you for joining. Bye.
So, Audrey has a tight schedule, so she will be leaving now. Give her a round of applause for coming today. We'll complete our agenda, but thank you, Audrey, for your time.
Thank you. So I will give you all a quick intro about Techstars. Let's wait to see our slides. And we will move around the seats and tables for our upcoming next stop community panel. Very quick intro about who Techstars is and how our global footprint look like, and what we have done in 2020 and what we plan to do in 2021. Before I jump into our intro, I'd like to know the composition of all our audience. So whenever, if you are founders, or in the past you are founders, raise your hand, wave your hands, you're founders. And I know we have a lot of VIPs, they are judges, mentors, and our organization, community builders. Oh, here we have the slides ready. Okay, wave our hands, our VIP.
Community builders, leaders, thought leaders in the
Right,
Thank you for
and
coming.
just learn from Sophia. If you haven't, for our VIP, if you haven't get your latte, you can go over there and grab one. Sophia. So that's Sophia. Okay.
I think today the tech is not good to us today.
Fine.
It's endorsements to BenQ, I think. Sponsored by BenQ.
We will reach out to them. We should.
So just to rehash the agenda, since we started later, we'll have an intro from Rosa. After that, we'll have a panel with community leaders in our ecosystem. So that will be after the intro. And then after that, we'll have a sharing from a special guest, the Techstars alumni, that came just 2 months ago to Taiwan. And then we'll have a networking session for everyone.
I learned that the spring on the both sides they are working, right? I can just talk. So Techstars founded in 2006. Right now we have over 47 global accelerators. And right now in Taiwan we are building our Taipei ecosystem development. We are well known for our Start Week, Start Weekend community programs, and we have that over 1,000 programs across 160 countries. And for the numbers in the past year, we have hosted more than 60 events, online, offline. And going forward for 2021, we plan to do more for our inbound and outbound, and that's the belief that we believe that we can do more, achieve more, do better than anyone else. Techstars globally, we have more than 10,000 mentors. And with that global network, we are hoping to support our Taiwanese startups connect globally, connect to Techstars global network. And in the past year, we have connect our startups teams to apply our global accelerators. And some of them, they even don't know we have this global accelerator that's suitable for them. And right now, JGB, they are sitting here, and she's a great example that right now they are at the final stage discussing with our Hub 71. Okay, so then we can enter our local star community. So the first one, we have Audrey and Ian talk about Star Community Way. Then we decide it's our greatest pleasure to invite speakers to talk about our local, and I will let David introduce them.
Just to add on that, today you saw Ian and Oko, part of the Kickoff team in Taiwan as well. They're supporting us using the messages they were talking about in the book. So, like Rosa said, a lot of things we do here is connectivity. Today is a perfect example of connectivity. And what we want to do is empower founders and community builders to work together. Like I said, this is our home and this is what we want to build. Right? This is where you want to start your business. This is where you want to succeed. So we're trying to help in bringing that here. So the team you saw today in the screen and the team you see here with you right now are helping instigate that. So if you want to learn about it more, learn about Techstars, reach out to me and Rosa. And without further ado, we'll introduce our panelists today. We wanted to have a broader view, which was Ian and Audrey. And now we want to bring in local founders, local entrepreneurs, local investors from our ecosystem to talk about what their perspectives and what are they doing for our ecosystem today. So I'll introduce them shortly. They'll introduce themselves and what they do, but we have a local entrepreneur turned investor in Yan. And we also have a foreign CEO running a startup in Taiwan in Rufus. And we have a local female entrepreneur, and she's kicking ass in the local scene in Joanna. So let me move the chairs there, and then we can transition into the panel.
The lady sit on the red seat. David.
Panelists, please take your seat. And these are the hot seats, by the way. So
you can know.
So you guys can take over. You have hard shoes to fill because you're just following Audrey.
Our first question will be, well, just give us a short intro about yourself, and we will start from Yan.
Yeah, tough shoes to fill. Hi, everyone. I'm Yan, the founder and managing partner of High Ventures. As David earlier mentioned, I myself was an entrepreneur for the past 12 years, and recently, I think in 2017-18, moved back to Taiwan to start up High Ventures to work with the local startup community and try to help like-minded entrepreneurs to go global, and that's me, Joanna.
Hi everyone, Morning, Joanna. I'm the CEO of JGB Smart Property, and we are dealing with a property management system specialized on the residential market. Yeah, so as you know, that in Taiwan market, the government is pushing the policy of public housing and 包租代管. Yeah, it's an agency policy. So we help this kind of real estate agency and property management firms to build their business more efficiently with all online service, online e-signature, online contract, and online payment for the rental. So we also have a existing and active user in not just Taiwan but also Southeast Asia, including Vietnam, Cambodia, and Philippines. So we try to solve a problem for a regional problem for the property industry.
Hi, good morning. My name is Rufus Parkinson. I'm the CEO, co-founder of a company called StyleMe. I actually started my journey about 20 years ago in Asia. I'm originally from the UK. Started in retail, then consumer goods with Mars, luxury with LVMH. And then for the last 4 years, my day and night has been basically building a business which is offering a virtual fitting and styling solution for shoppers. So we're taking that physical try and buy online, so that you can have that experience when you shop for apparel. We are made in Taiwan. My team is here, 26 engineers, but our markets are in the US and Europe predominantly.
As you all can see, Yan, he stands for early stage startup investor. Joanna, she represents female founder. And today we have Rufus to speak up for the foreign founder in Taiwan. And now we would like to talk about the Taiwan startup community. So what you have observed and anything good that you would like to highlight. And then later, next question I would like to ask, what would you suggest later on, but we'd like to see, to ask your observation. For the beginning, then we go that round.
Okay, so I'll kick off with, the fundamental reason why we built our business here in Taiwan is because the talent, and the talent pool is actually a great resource. I think it was referred to earlier, but this is something that Taiwan can make more of a song and dance about. But certainly, obviously hardware traditionally, but now software as well. There are great people, great quality, and obviously, frankly, cost efficiency as well. So by building out a team and building technology here, it's been a very effective way to get started. And so that's something certainly that I think that Taiwan can build on and offer as a really good platform for startups. Yeah.
So, what I've seen in the ecosystem in Taiwan. So, frankly speaking, at the beginning, we start our startup since 2018. At that time, we tried to, me and my co-founder, try to build a team, maybe consider about Beijing or Shenzhen or Taipei. Yeah, so when later we consider about this because we know we are dealing with a property tech. And however, we understand that our ambition is for Southeast Asia. And because we understand in our category, there's a gap, tech gap in Southeast Asia. So when they time, we think maybe Taipei is a good choice because we have a good talent, engineers, and closer to Southeast Asia than Beijing. Even there has a much more talent, young talents there. So I think this is the reason we notice as an advantage of Taiwan that we have a good people, good engineers, and if we have an open-minded, we are really close to Southeast Asia. If we think about this, and if we pay a lot of attention in South Asia, we have a good advantage in South Asia market. So this is an ecosystem we have seen in Taiwan, the advantage. Of course, secondly, that I think these few years, a lot of young people, young talents, and good entrepreneurs come back to Taiwan as it's just happening these few years. As you see, like Yan, yeah, a lot of they are willing to contribute more for Taiwan market. I think this is more active and more prosperous this few years, just happening along with JGB exploring. Yeah, this is the second base I have seen.
Great observation. Then we like to hear Yan's.
So I think Rufus and Joanna have touched a lot on our talent, which is fundamentally the reason why we're back in Taiwan, why we decided to set up an early stage fund in Taiwan when many of our predecessors in the venture capital space, both regionally and in Taiwan, have told us that is just kind of insane. because Taiwan doesn't really have a very strong environment for entrepreneurship, and there aren't that many deals going around in Taiwan. And we kind of thought it might have been true. There were articles written about that in Taiwan, about how this is a desert for entrepreneurship. But I think over the past 5 years at least that we've had this idea, and over the past 2 years that we've set this up, we believe the fundamental premise was that if there is talent, where talent supply, talent pool is the fundamental resource for entrepreneurship, and Taiwan had an abundance of it. And in our DNA, in our blood, runs entrepreneurship, because this nation was actually a very young one that was only built in the past 30 years economically. So we were strong believers that DNA existed, and all there needed was a spark to light that fire amongst the talent pool. And it's obvious over the past 5 years, we've seen many forces within the ecosystem come together. We were very, very surprised, to be very honest, when we came back, that the government is one of the strongest supporters of the entire ecosystem. It is intuitive, but it's also rare to believe that. And but when we came back, we witnessed firsthand that there was a lot of work being done. There was a lot of money flowing into the ecosystem, and then sprouted incubators, accelerators, global accelerators coming back to Taiwan. And then we saw deal flow with regards to the number of tech startups in Taiwan just really balloon up. So I was really excited because Joanna and Rufus were both companies that we've met over the past year, and I believe in the audience I've also seen a few familiar faces. So last year alone, Hive Ventures, we've seen about close to 700, 800 tech startups in Taiwan. And when I say tech, healthcare doesn't come into our sector. So within AI, IoT, blockchain, cloud, edge related data, that's our sector. There's about 800. So hey, that accounts for quite a bit of deal flow, if you ask me, right? So I think the ecosystem has come a very long way, and I think with COVID, we've seen a lot of pandemic refugees. Everyone's been talking about that. There is a stronger influx of talent with overseas experience. And if that were something that Taiwan was lacking in, now we have quite a bit of abundance of that coming in. So I think we're very hopeful that the ecosystem will continue to blossom going forward.
Okay, Yan got a bonus question. So I'd like to ask the audience, if you are founders, have you talked to Yan with your hands? Okay. And you haven't talked to him with your hands. You got your chance. Oh, okay, you guys should meet Yan. And the bonus question to Yan is why you call Hive Venture? What does Hive mean?
So one, it sounds kind of cool because it's that. It sounds kind of cool, right? It's if you watch Resident Evil, it's where Alice and all the evil things are. But it is fundamentally a colony, right? But to go back to the roots of it, so in our last startup that we built over the past 12 years, me and my two other partners at Hive, we founded a company 12 years ago that had a logo as a bee. So we were three little bees that have been flying around everywhere in the world, and now we're home, and home for a bee is a hive. So, but yeah, I really like that cool reference to Resident Evil better.
Okay. Yeah, and since Yan got the bonus question, then I would like to ask this to Joanna. You can explain about why you call it JGB, and Rufus talks about styling. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So before I talk about why we call JGB, I have a question with our audience. Have you ever been a tenant? I mean, to rent an apartment in a city? Could you please raise your hand? Rent apartments in a city. Oh, cool. Okay. So have you ever managing as a property manager to manage the apartments or studios in a city and a flat as an owner or as a manager? More than 10 units. 10 units. 10个以上的那个套房 10 units. Have you ever? No. Have you ever? Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. So because the reason I talk about actually from most of our clients, they manage more than 200 units. 200 flats units. I mean, it's studios like 套房. So most of them manage much more at one single company and within like a 5 people team of 5 people. So actually, management thing is really massive and really repeated. So that's why we call JGB. It means 金箍棒. We represent that we're going to build a 金箍棒of all owners, property managers. Because with our JGB system, it's like your weapon to make you stronger and save your time and make it more efficient. And then you can enjoy your vacation with your 筋斗云.
Okay, just like wave the mage wand.
yeah. Okay. Rufus.
I'm going to take my cue from Joanna. So, have any of you bought clothes online and ended up returning them because they didn't fit?
Yeah.
Okay, quite a lot. It would be even more if there was more women in the audience. So essentially, that's what we're solving. You know, when you buy a product, you're not confident of what the fit's going to be like. When you get it, it doesn't look like how you'd expect on your body, so you return it, and hence Style Me is what we do.
Great, and we all observe a great speech. Start from a question. Okay, so our next question to all the panelists is about suggestion. So what you observe about the Taiwanese startup community, and what would be your suggestion?
So I think as a foreigner building up a startup here, which essentially has not got its market here in Taiwan, we knew from day one Taiwan was not going to be our market, but it was a great place to be based. The major challenge is how do you then get out and go and exploit and develop those markets overseas, whether it be Europe, or US, or wherever. And I think that's a huge challenge for the startup community. I think it's a few things that you have to have a realization on. One is that do you have the right person to do it? Because often a founder is not necessarily the right person to do that. They might be brilliant at one piece, engineering, whatever, but maybe not that. Secondly, how do you build that network? Because if you don't build that network, it's like pushing water uphill. You bang your head against the wall and you get a serious migraine. You need a network, and whether it's bringing in people like early investors like Hive, or leveraging off accelerators. Ourselves, we're based in a venture studio, Nogle, to build that network and start to get that. That's key. And to me, those two are actually even more important than the third, which is obviously need funding, because the third can only help you if you've got the other two. Otherwise, you're just going to blow your money very quickly. So I think that process is something that people need to really think through and kind of reach out for help, because you can't do it on your own, and sometimes you feel quite isolated in Taiwan. So that's something that I think we can all do more to help on.
Great. Okay. So talk about the suggestion about. First of all, I would like to say thank you and appreciate for Techstars. Techstars is very special than our accelerator. They focus on community. When I understand community is a fundamental issue for the ecosystem. So, and what I understand that the Rosas team, they tried for the past year, they built a lot of meetup gathering and to meet a mentor and the founders. So I think this is why I'm happy, and I believe they will continue to do this for the coming 2021.
Thank you.
Yes, and it's
even pay her to say that.
Okay. Yeah, this is what I think is a good thing that we have seen for the past year. Secondly, when we talk about that, I expected to be more, and I believe Techstars could do more because they have the power and they have the resource. That's maybe 2 points. The first point is I just echo to Yan, the people, the talented people. And when we talk about go global, it's better that we have talented people, maybe hire or recruit some young people, maybe not just from Taiwanese, maybe a young people from South Asia, from Malaysia, or from Vietnam. They come to study in Taiwan for the university or master. Maybe recruit this kind of different background people. I believe it's really helpful for all the startup in Taiwan when we're trying to go global, because you get closer to your target market. This is why I emphasize and I encourage that maybe Techstars have this kind of capability to help this to help this. Yeah. Secondly, second part is that what I've seen, because JGB is focused on the property tech, and while we have emphasis on focus and observation is, for example, in Singapore government, for the government side, they really ambitious and aggressive for property tech solution. So they tried since 2019. They just have a whole plan for like industrial zone, like 内科，这个内科哈，就 industrial zone to open up for the startup solution and recruit the startup and put their solution to the industrial zone to remodel industrial zone with new ideas. And secondly, like I also focus on realize that even New York City, recently they are recruiting startups all around the world, put their application in the property owned by New York City government. Recently, until 5th of February, until they also receive an application for all around the world for the startup. So what I think that they try to open up their building and the government resource to the startups and to a new solution, new technology. This is what I anticipate and expect that maybe government not Taipei City, New Taipei City or Taichung, they have a lot of government assets and they're really good for like energy and some new kind of smart building solution. I believe we can encourage our government to open up their asset to more welcome for the startup solution as a place to follow up adoption. Yes.
Great. So even though Audrey left earlier, we will write a summary and share with her. And today, so for those who are sitting at our VIP seats, we have some people from Taipei City government. We have some people from SBDA. So we have some government and community builders. We will work on this together. Thank you. And Yen.
Oh, okay. I think the suggestion goes out to I think everyone and the kind of founders community at large. I think it's an excellent opportunity right now to really think big about your business. When I say think big, go global, that's definitely one of the key things. I think we're really, when we were fundraising as a fund, one of the things we realized was that people have kind of forgotten that Taiwan's technology kind of powers everything, from your silicon, your semiconductor, to your IC design, your chip, your printed circuit boards, your computers, everything, right? But people in the world have kind of forgotten that we are, well, pretty good at technology when compared globally. But I think the whole entire pandemic over the past year has kind of reminded everyone that, hey, Taiwan is very relevant on a global map, right? So I think people have once again been reminded of the limitless possibilities, the potential of Taiwan and Taiwanese founders, and this is an excellent time for you to get out there. You are no longer bound by geographical limits, although we cannot leave the confines of Taiwan generally. I think people welcome us, but not the other way around. But I think Zoom has kind of broken down all those barriers, which means that global VCs, global accelerators networks are open to talk to you at any time zone, at any given, no matter where you are. Okay, time space is broken up. So take that opportunity and reach out. And it's not just about global development. Talk to more people within the community here. There's a huge community of international founders here who understand global needs of markets outside of Taiwan. And by understanding that, you can build a solution and a product that really caters to a much bigger audience than just Taiwan itself. Start there, leverage on the ecosystem here, and really reach out to the rest of the world through partners like Techstars and other partners within the market itself. Really reach out, go think big, and rethink how you can take this opportunity to build a global business. Okay, thank you.
Very good point, mentioning global time zones is broken. Today, this morning, actually, we have one volunteer who is supporting you guys. Oh, Bob, I see you. So he's working like Silicon Valley time zone, and he didn't sleep at all, came straight over and joined this morning session. Right. And lastly, I would like to ask our panelists to share what's your vision for Taiwan. If you can imagine Taiwan could be a healthy, strong startup community, what would it be? Describe your vision and give us a hope and scope, the picture that we can imagine. Okay, I will give a few seconds for all of them. And we don't have much time, but if we can open one question to the audience, if you have any, you can start to think. Yeah, we try to be on time and start from.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, my turn. Okay, so my vision is that because I understand the background of Yan, Yan met their co-founder with in Shanghai, right? Yeah, I mean previous. What are expectation like as a Taiwan ecosystem? I expect the people here understand China market, then friendly for South Asian market, and this is what I expected for the whole ecosystem and the people here. Then because we should be the group of people that understand China much more than any other foreigners. This is what we should do and what we can do. Once we got this capability and then we understand the whole China market, then we understand the gap and no matter which kind of industry and category. So we understand what we can do outside of China. And actually, this is what we do for JGB Smart Property. We understand the technology in property management system. In China market, they are much deeper than what we done in JGB in South Asia. And now, however, we know the solution, they don't get time to go out of China in short-term period, like 2 or 3 years. That's why we come to South Asia first. And we find a gap and we find the opportunity there. So I believe this is also might be the opportunity for most of our startup in Taiwan. We have a good technology and we know the global market and a different region and find a gap. This is what I expected.
Great.
So I think what I would say is I build on what Ian was talking about earlier in terms of we need to get to a point where it's a sustainable kind of environment that has momentum and it becomes a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy of success. So, yes, government can kickstart things, but, as a founder community, we need to broaden, get more depth, more success, get more unicorns, and then obviously the investment from private or institutions to facilitate that. So I think we're getting there. It's just a matter of time. And as Yen said, I think it's a big change in the last short period, even in the last 12 months, and certainly in the last 4 years. So looking forward, I think it won't be too long before we make it.
So at Hive, if you go to our website, the core concept that we envision is basically that we hope to plant a forest. I think coming back to Rufus's point, we believe that the entire entrepreneur ecosystem is like a farm or plantation. If you grow a strong tree and bear fruits and fruits fall out from the tree, and they continue to grow more and more trees from there. Silicon Valley was built that way. I think many of the greatest nations were built that way when there are strong enterprises that continue to foster and to incubate younger seedlings into a bigger forest of successful trees. And I think we might be in the second iteration of that with past 20, 30 years being the first iteration. I think we're starting an entire new wave of entrepreneurship now, and we'd love to see more and more giving back to the community, and we'd love to see that this goes on in a sustainable way, that when we talk about Taiwan globally, people will be like, oh wow, I need to get in on that. I need to go to Taiwan as a fund to go look at some of the most exciting startups in Asia. And when I'm a tech founder, this is where I want to be building my business. All right. So we hope that internally, organically, we're going to build out a strong community that gives back to the community as well, but simultaneously for the rest of the world to also see and appreciate that going forward. So that's what we really like to build out in Taiwan.
Wow. Oh, Taiwan. Great. So open up a question to the audience if there's any. 3, 2, 1. Okay, don't raise your hand. Okay, then last to wrap it up, I'd like to invite all our panelists to give us 3 hashtags about startup community. 3 hashtags. Give you some time to think about. When I started to join the startup community back in 2014, I wrote a book about Fan Chou. He wrote, and then I want to imagine 2025 or 2030. Taiwan is a small area, but we are willing to do tons of experiments. We do pilot runs. Exciting stuff is happening in Taiwan. That's my vision about Taiwan. And to give the startup community hashtag for me, and based on reading the startup community, entrepreneur-led, and the connectivity. Lastly, it will be give first. So that's the 3 hashtags from me. Rufus, you ready?
Go ahead.
There's no right or wrong. Just you can repeat. Then we know it's really important. Doesn't matter. And there's no right or wrong. And we Taiwanese always like to take exams. There's no right answer, you know.
For me, like, probably I would say like talented people, and I would say meet up.
Ooh, great connectivity.
Yeah, connectivity, yeah, meet up. And then third, that I would say like good people like Rosa.
Thank you. Oh, there's a red envelope right underneath.
Yeah, because then you need to meet her. Then you got this kind of environment to meet other people, which means Techstars. She represents Techstars, so I would say you can hashtag Rosa.
Thank you. What an honor.
Yeah.
And well, I will give them a few more seconds to think about. Since Jenna mentioned Meetup, and great news is that last year in November, we host the corporate startup engagement. And our top winning team from Start Weekend in April, they joined, they attended, and they met their, I think that's the first batch investors. And in December, they received 12 million, NT dollar. But it's still good to know that with all the connectivity, all the meetups, that we create the future. Rufus, you're ready.
I'm as ready as I'll be. So meetup is definitely meet. Is,
great.
I think another thing is like hold on to your seat, because this community is going to take off, and I think everything will accelerate.
Wow.
So.
The goose. Okay, good skin.
Wow. Sorry,
Wow.
a few seconds not enough.
Hype.
Hype would be awesome. But I think Taiwan Can Help is something that I really like throughout the past year. I think same thing, Taiwan Can Help, not help others only, but also help one another. So I think Taiwan Can Help, that is the most beautiful thing about Taiwan that everyone can tell you about. And I really like that hold on to your seats thing. I think it's exciting. Yeah, so I'll rip him off on that.
Great.
And finally, ripping off from Techstars, give first.
Yeah, thank you. And we got one question from JD.
Hey everyone, thanks for your time today and your insight. So Rosa, on Rosa's question, I have a question. Outside of your current industry, so you cannot answer your current industry, in 2025, what will be the leading industry in Taiwan to receive funding? Yeah, 5 years. So what is going to be the hottest industry that will get the most traction and funding in 5 years? And you cannot say your own industry.
My industry is boring. No one's going to fund my industry. So.
That won't be the hottest.
I'll go first from my perspective. I think 5 years is actually not very far away, but I think communications and networking has something that Taiwan has always been really amazing at. I think 5G and even satellite connectivity, those are things that Taiwan has the infrastructure and ecosystem for. And I think 5 years from now, we're going to see a lot more of that booming. So that's definitely, from our scope, that's one of the things that we think is very exciting 5 years down the road.
We couldn't talk about our own industry, right?
So Yan may be right, but another one is, I think, is fintech. Fintech, I think, has a huge opportunity. It may not be the biggest funded, but I think there's a lot of In Taiwan, there's still a lot of legs to go. It's still very early days, and I think whether it be in blockchain or in more traditional but more digital related fintech, I think it's a big opportunity.
I think it's medical tech, but I will focus on medical tech. There's another startup here. Like, they are doing similar things like JGB, but for the rooms in hospital. There's a team in BE. So I'm talking about a medical tech specialized combined with hardware. Yeah, I think this is the advantage of Taiwan's historical industry, and this is what we have done. This is what I think. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so what's JD's answer?
Oh man, well, AI. Yeah, all the investment in AI.
Okay.
Now,
Right. Now, right? Well, we will meet again in 2025. Check your answer. Well, definitely, I think when all of them mentioned meetup, and I will let David to talk about our upcoming meetups and then introduce our next session.
Oh, thank you guys. Give a round of applause to the panelists first. Before I take it away. So they will be here. If you haven't met Yen, meet him. If you've met Joanna, meet her. If you haven't met Rufus, connect with him as well. So thank you, panelists. You can sit back there. And I'll talk about, in the chance of meetups, since it was a hashtag, we'll be partnering with Darwin Ventures on March 5th. We'll have a founders gathering for the first Friday of March. So March 5th. That's something we're planning. And we're also in the works of working on regular monthly or weekly meetups if people want it. So if you want meetups regularly, please raise your hand. Okay, I think we need more people raising their hands. But in the panel, the main thing I saw was all three of them wanted to show Taiwan to the world. And introducing talent from Taiwan and getting people eyes on Taiwan. That's what Audrey was talking about as well. So just a brief thing, I think everyone here is aligned about Taiwan's ecosystem. And what me and Rosa and the Techstars team is focusing on this year is inbound and outbound. So just a brief tidbit is how can we use our networks within Techstars to showcase all of our founders here sitting today. So that's outbound. Inbound is attracting people and letting people learn about Taiwan. So these are things that we're focusing on, and if you want to learn more, contact me and Rosa. In the respect of inbound, our next guest is an inbound guest. He's been here for 2 months. He's been quarantined. He's fine, but this is the same thing. The hashtag of connectivity. He is a founder who's 21 years of age. He's freaking young. And he came to us through the power of the network. So he was a Techstars alum. People knew that we had a Techstars program in Taiwan. He was coming here for his suppliers. He makes a shoe that lights up. And so we just connected, and now he's in Taiwan trying to build his business. So give a round of applause for Reza. And Mustafa, the co-founder of Reza.
Thank you so much. 大家好 How are you guys doing today? 我要说中文。我今天快乐看到你们。I would speak in Chinese, but I don't want to torture you guys for the rest of the day. But first of all, just want to give a big thank you for inviting me to this event, and just being from the States and coming here to Taiwan for a few weeks has been so incredible, and the energy you guys have is just something I've learned a lot from. So just want to give a round of applause to all you guys for being here today and all the energy. Thank you. Thank you so much. So a little bit about me and my background. I just want to talk about why I came to Taiwan, what I'm doing with my business, and kind of what I've observed and what I'm learning from you guys along the way. OK， Okay, so first of all, a little bit about Reza. So Reza is a light up shoe company that I founded when I was in high school. And the best way to show a little bit about what we are and who we do is showing a 1-minute clip from our demo day video.
And as I grew up, there's one idea I was never able to get rid of. What if you could harness the power of those lights with you? What if you could take it with you any place you go? What if you could literally wear light? Reza is about being in charge of your own destiny. Those lights you saw as a child represent creation and life. We came to realize that light within ourselves, and now it's our privilege to share it with you. This is Reza.
Okay, who here would wear Reza? Who would wear it? Alright, you're all getting free pairs. Eventually, at some point. It's not going to be right now, but don't worry. We'll put you on the list. But yeah, so as you can see, the idea is very simple. It's something that is fun and brings me a lot of joy. I think we're probably the earliest company Techstars ever invested in. It's hard to get earlier than the stage we're at. And the main thing that I want to share is just how we came to here and why eventually we came to Taiwan and kind of our plans. So the idea behind Reza is simple. When I was in high school, I didn't get the most attention from girls. So I thought that by wearing light up shoes and doing things like that I would be seen. Can you go to the next slide? Okay, so yeah, starting as a joke. So literally, I always like to do things that are different. In high school, I was a singer, and I did a lot of events that involved singing and dancing. You can see on the next slide. I performed "Happy" by Pharrell at my school talent show, and then from there, it was just how can I do things that stand out and are really show my personality. And I thought lights were something that no one has ever done before in shoes, at least adult shoes. It never looked really cool. It was always for kids. So that's the thing that we aim to do and build something that had never been done before. So it started as a very simple idea of putting lights on shoes. And as you can see from the public, we went to our city, our state where I'm from, Michigan, and literally hundreds of people would stop us on the streets asking where they could get a pair. And we knew we had something very special on our hands, but it was more how can we build that into a business that's sustainable and actually made sense economically. So it came with the idea at first that there was no cool light-up shoes. There's been light-up shoes for like 30 years, but there's never been something that really looks sexy and is well-designed and looks like it was designed by Tesla. So that's exactly what we set out to do. But coming from high school and coming from Michigan, I really had no idea how to start a business. My parents weren't in business, my friends weren't in business. So it literally just was the idea of how do we build this into something with no connections, no industry know-how. And that's when this idea turned into an obsession. And eventually I went to college and I tried to get connected to my ecosystem and really just day after day, week after week thinking, how can I build Reza into a business? I think there's every entrepreneur has a decisive trip or a moment where things just kind of fall into place. And for me, it was when I went to Colorado, to Boulder, to go on a school trip with my university. So I was a president of Entrepreneurship Association when I was at Michigan State. And by happenstance, we ended up going to the Techstars headquarters in Boulder. I knew no one at Techstars. I had no connections. Didn't know you guys one bit. But there was a guy in the room. His name was Saba. He's a pipeline manager. And I told him about my idea. I kind of nagged him for a business card. And eventually, we hopped on a call, and he thought it was a great idea. And from there, started a relationship that we kept learning, and I kept learning from him, and he became a mentor of mine, which I was really grateful for. And that's when I really learned the give first mentality, that everyone in the Techstars that I work in the entrepreneurial ecosystem really does want to give first. And just by walking into a random meeting, I was able to get a key advisor from Techstars who helped me nourish my business as someone who didn't have any idea how to grow a business. And then I did what every Asian parent would dread their kids to do, is drop out of college. So I'm sorry to my parents, they're still trying to get over it, but if you guys have an idea, I think you should drop out. It's a lot more fun than taking classes. You got to come to Taiwan for cool trips. So I'm 21, so I would be graduating as a senior this year, but I dropped out last year to pursue Reza, and from there it just came that I knew I could build this into something if I really tried, and our team was starting to come into line, and I just thought it was the right decision to go full time. And from there, we started assembling a really strong team. So our head of design is the former lead designer at New Balance. And my best friend, Jack, he's here in Taiwan as well. Unfortunately, he twisted his ankle in Hualien yesterday, so he couldn't be here today. And then from there, we got some really key advisors in the industry who made it really, really easy for us to get meetings with people we wanted to. So Dale, he's a former CEO of Crocs, and then Matthew Brody from Puma, and then Jerome Destronic from Paris Saint-Germain. And then with Matthew, we got a working contract with Puma. We're working on a future collaboration with them. But really what I learned from someone who doesn't come from business is if you are able to get cold emails, to get meetings, to walk into rooms, you can make things happen. And I feel a lot of that same energy here, that there's so much potential and there's so much winning to happen. And I think that's extremely incredible opportunity for you guys to explore these next couple weeks and months building your own companies. So where we are now is we came to Taiwan to finalize our supply chain. So we've sold no shoes. We're a pre-launch company, but we'll be launching very shortly. We've worked with people in the industry like Floyd Mayweather. He's one of our influencers that we work with. We've worked with a lot of college athletes. So we're really excited that we were able to build this technology, and then we're just more excited that what the future holds here in Taiwan and for Reza and us building our technology here. So yeah, we're launching in April. If you guys would like to get it there, then let me know, and I'll actually add you to the wait list. I will just joke about it. But yeah, we're really excited to make it happen. So what I learned from Techstars. So we went through the Techstars Sports Accelerator powered by ND. Around October 8th was our demo day. So we wrapped up a couple months ago, and we learned so much more than we could ever imagine. The main thing being the community aspect of Techstars. So being here in the room with you guys today, you guys get to experience that a lot. But for us, as founders, it's a very lonely journey. So a lot of the time, you don't know what it's like to have people around you who really believe in the vision. That was the real first time that we had this sense of community, that we were building something, and that it's not just you trying to build a company or do a crazy idea. There's a whole bunch of people around you trying to make it happen as well. And I feel that same energy today with you guys that I do in Indianapolis at our Techstars crew. Just the community aspect has been really strong, and that stays with you for life. It's not just for one day, it's forever. And then a big thing is you're selling a vision. If you're talking to investors, I know we have great investors in the room, more than anything, you're selling an idea, and you're selling yourself and your motivation. It's important to have metrics, but we didn't have a lot of metrics coming in. We just had a crazy idea of a light-up shoe, and I think Techstars saw something in that. And if you truly believe in it, then you can portray the idea to others and get them excited about it as well. I think is a lot more important than just simply having sales or metrics, etc. And then I think it comes to building a story around what you're doing. So something that we did that's exciting is we do like weekly update videos to our investors and people on our network about our progress. And something you guys don't know, but it's really cool being in Taiwan. Like everyone back home is asking me all the time, how's the food? How's the weather? How's it not having COVID? I get messages on LinkedIn from random people saying like, how did you get to Taiwan? Can you give me a visa? So yeah, talk to Audrey for that one. But you guys have so much going for you, and it's so exciting to share videos like this about being at the factory and working on cool stuff. And yeah, it's mostly about building a story and vision about what we're doing. And right now we're doing a lot of R&D for our shoes. So we're developing kinetic charging. So you won't have to charge your shoes. You just walk and it regenerates the battery and stuff like that. Being bold. I think being bold is something that you have to do as an entrepreneur. And I think in Taiwan and Asia, obviously you guys can be more reserved than us Americans who always like to talk more. And a lot of time it's nonsense. But I think definitely in the entrepreneurial realm, being bold pays dividends. And something that we did to be bold was we didn't want to do one of these videos for demo day. So all the demo days were virtual. We thought that this would be really boring. And as you saw the one minute clip from our demo day video, we really went outside the box. And it's basically us running through Indianapolis, giving our demo day pitch. And that turned out to be something that people remembered. I think that investors, other people you share your business with, they're going to hear tons and tons of ideas. You have to be memorable. You have to do something that's different. And you have to step out of your comfort zone. I think that's when the most exciting things happen. And that's what I encourage you guys to do more than anything. Yeah, so from our demo day video, Sports Techie said we were one of the most exciting demo day videos, and we got great traction. So it was just, it showed that the taking of the risk did pay off. And we also got the governor of Indiana, Eric Holcomb, to be in the video, which was pretty fun too. We just asked him if he would be in our video because they're LPs in the Indianapolis Techstars Fund, and he did a really cool cameo. So really grateful for that. If you don't believe in yourself, no one will. It sounds cliche, but it's so true. Just thinking of your guys' journey, of how far you guys have got here in our amazing panel today, it really is something that you should take to heart. That even something as crazy as a light-up shoe or an app or idea, it starts so simple, but if you really are committed to it, you can grow really quickly, and that's something that I think we all need to be reminded every day of accomplishing that. Okay, so what we experienced in Taiwan has been quite the interesting experience that a lot of people haven't had before, especially entrepreneurs. So this is my buddy Jack getting watched down at quarantine. Quarantine is not for the faint of heart, so I cried a couple times. I'm not afraid to admit that. It's a tough experience, but it was worth it to be here and to eventually be out was more than we could ever imagine. And then a big thing that I didn't know about was just how strong this community is. So when we came to Taiwan, we asked a couple people in our network, who do you know in Asia? And I was surprised how many people were saying, you have to talk to the Techstars Taiwan crew. You have to talk to them. They're building something really cool. I had the CEO of Techstars, our managing director, saying that they've heard what you guys are doing. And that's something that I instantly realized when I met with David and Sophia and Jessica and Rosa. I mean, what you guys have is so special. Sometimes I think it's easy to forget, but you guys have such an untapped market of visionaries, of incredible people and ideas that you can really tap into. And this is what our supply chain and our factory workers, and just working with them, you can just see how intelligent you guys are in the ecosystem. You guys are building is really special. So what I experienced is a huge market waiting to be untapped, and a lot of great entrepreneurs to be made. I've worked intensively in the Techstars network across the U.S. and in our program in particular. And what I see here is nothing short of to that stature. So I think it's an incredible opportunity for all you guys. Okay, yeah. Can't emphasize enough. You guys are untapped for sure, and I'm gonna go spread your word everywhere I go after this trip. But the big thing as well is find your strength. So I think in America we're good BSers. We can sell a vision just by talking and talking and talking. A lot of the time it's not fully the truth, or it's exaggerated. You guys are much more humble than that. So I'd say that your strengths in hardware, in manufacturing, mixing that with kind of American sales pitch, I think is going to be incredibly powerful for the ecosystem in the next coming years, and really solidifying that pitch together. Because the hardware and the tech and the SaaS you guys have is sometimes better than what we have in the States. And I'm from Michigan, which is not California. It's not New York City. So I think finding that mixture and that collaboration between West meets East is going to be really important for the future going ahead. And then I think it's also important to share your story, and don't be afraid about that. I'm filming a video today for Techstars Central. I want to share with everyone on my network. Here's a video that we did in Taiwan, and the CEO of Techstars, Scott Ford, reposted it, and he had a bunch of people reach out to me just asking about you guys. So people are really curious about what you're building, and don't be afraid to celebrate that, and to go out and find those connections. Because even in my network, there's a lot of people who want to get connected with you guys. And I just had a call with our managing partner, Jordan Flegel of the Techstars Sports Accelerator. I told him I was going to be here today, and he said he wants every sports tech founder and company in Taiwan to apply to the program. So I'm going to hold that to you guys to come talk to me if you're interested in getting in a sports tech program, or even other Techstars programs that I'm connected to. I mean, people want to see you guys at the party, and I think you guys have a lot to offer, which is really exciting. Yeah, so don't be afraid to apply and share your ideas, even if they're early. I mean, as I said, Techstars has never invested in a company earlier than Reza, and I think we're on a good track to do what we set out to do. So the main thing is that I'm really impressed by what you guys are doing. I'm really honored to be here, and anything that I can do to help in that process, I want to do. And big congratulations to all you guys for your success, and look forward to being part of the ecosystem. So thank you.
Thank you. The 2021 Grand Kickoff, and since Audrey mentioned transforming machine learning to collaborative learning, and Mustafa is here in Taiwan, and he also mentioned we need to have an American sales pitch, right? So Mustafa is here. He stayed till April, and he can sing, he plays guitar, and he would like to meet all of the founders together with our Techstars team. So come to us, have one-on-one meeting with David and Sophia, and be bold to apply Techstars accelerator, right? Great.
加油.
Yay!
Hello. We didn't pay him to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going to put that in his pitch. Thank you, Reza.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mustafa.
And I think Mustafa did a great example. He did the video, he shared on his own social media. So I would like to encourage all of you, if you like today's sharing, write a few sentences, share it through your social media, tag hashtag Techstars. We will select 3 and join our first week of February mentorship launch. Well, our team doesn't know that. I just announced that.
I didn't know that.
Tracking. So for those who shared, hashtag us. And definitely, if you how should I describe this? You can cut it. Never mind. We will try to trace back.
So I know it's been a long morning. I'll take 3 minutes more of your time just to explain what we want to build in Taiwan. So. Audrey put the dot in Silicon Valley, Taiwan. We're gonna put a dot in Taiwan startup community. And this is just it's a prototype that we're working on. It's to connect. Connectivity is something we're focusing on, and it's throughout the theme of today. Next slide, please. So connectivity is what we want to do in person, and we also want to empower people online as well. So we partnered up with a startup called Ramen Life out of Sydney. They're working on a platform that is locally helping different pockets of ecosystems, entrepreneurial ecosystems, empowering them with tools and ways to promote themselves, especially founders and startup companies. So next slide, please. So the platform is designed to help meet founders, meet mentors. It's to let you have a place. And what we want to do for Taiwan is build one specifically for Taiwan. So we already populated it. There's around 150 founders on it. And we encourage you to join in and make it so it's going to grow as like an online community or the face of Taiwan we can promote to different people around the world. So next slide, please. Next slide. So it's It has a people directory. It has a startup directory. There's mentor sections. So we'll be actively working with partners around the ecosystem. And if you are an accelerator or co-working space or a community builder who wants to be on the site, we're always welcome to have everyone on it. It's all-inclusive. There's no fees. There's no barriers to entry. We want everyone on it. That's when this startup community website will be valuable to have more people on it. So we'll have more about that. So next slide. Everyone who attended today, before you connect with someone beside you, both of you guys scan the QR code, sign up. I know some of you guys are already on there. Your startup's already on there. So thank you for that. This will be one of our focuses this year, a main focus. So like I said, inbound and outbound. This is part of our outbound strategy, is to make people see Taiwan and talent in Taiwan. So without further ado, this is time for us to open up for you guys to connect with each other. We have founders here, we have startup supporters, we have investors as well. So don't like Mustafa said, be bold, make people remember you, and connect together. This is what we want you guys to do. So thank you guys for coming today. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but we can overcome that, right? So thank you.
Startup mindset. Thank you, and we have food over here. Networking time.
Networking time will end at
It's
11:30, so you have 30 minutes to impress everyone.